let's talk about wet track form. Obviously, it's very salient at the moment. It's timely that we start talking about wet track form because we should have talked about 3 years ago in Sydney. But do horses that haven't had a start on wet tracks, do you mark them down? Because Milo of the Day coming up soon doesn't actually have any wet track form. Do you mark them down, or can they get through it unless proven otherwise?
I prefer not to gamble on it.
Yep.
Depending on the heaviness of the track.
Yep.
Like, for example, if they go around at Sydney this weekend and you haven't shown, and you've only performed to a soft 6, well, I probably won't bet you. But it's the wet track form. Like in the last at Canterbury yesterday, there was a horse by the name of Cruel Summer who had trialled up magnificently, an absolute swimmer. The horse that beat him had failed on a heavy track within the stewards, failed due to track condition, and won by like 7 lengths.
And had race fitness as well.
Yeah,
it was bizarre,
fitness.
wasn't it? Yesterday? There was a few of them yesterday.
Yeah.
At Canterbury.
Yeah, so you're lying if you're not guessing. But it is something that you want to see. What I don't get sucked into with wet track form is the numbers. Something might have 5 starts from a wet track, 0-0-2 or something like that, and people are like, oh, it doesn't go on a wet track. Whereas I can look at the data and see, well, you know what, it actually does handle that. It's just bumped into races where it has a minute's place as well to win. So it does handle wet tracks.
Couple in Sydney that have stepped up considerably in trip onto a heavy deck and failed, and then they've gone for a spell. It's probably the end of the prep.
Yeah.
It's probably for other reasons rather than a heavy track, right? That's what you're trying to say there. You got to look deeper into the form on the wet tracks. There's also different types of wet tracks. Randwick to Rose Hill to Canterbury to Kensington. Like, they're different surfaces. Flemington to Caulfield, wet tracks probably different. Moonee Valley, Strathair, different surface. So there's different levels of wet track. A horse that can go well on a 8 might fail on a 10.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Some of them don't like those sticky 8s, but just might be complete mudlarks. So you got to look deeper into the form. I speak to people, and some of them actually find value in horses that are untried on wet. They actually think that because the wet trackers and genuine wet trackers are always well found. As soon as you get a heavy 10, everyone just dives into the horse that's 4 from 8 on a wet track or whatever. But if you're untried on a wet track,
Money.
correct. 100 perfect
now 1
example.
from 10 on a wet track, benchmark 78.
Perfect example. There are those that actually buck the trend and go, well, this horse isn't tried. It could get through the wet and has great value.
Yeah, you got to get the price.
Presents a betting opportunity.
Yeah.
So
I don't have I don't love to have hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
When doing the form, I like to just assess everything on its merits. But one thing that I do really like that I don't particularly like all the time is on very wet tracks is horses back in trip.
You don't like?
No, I like them on wet tracks.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm on a good form. I'm not seeking out horses 14 back to 12 as a rule, but on a wet track, I think that's actually a positive.
Well, good. We'll talk about a horse later in the Silver Eagle that fits that mould.
Yeah.
We could talk about that for a long time. I love it. Our trial chat last week went well. Got a few hits.
Yeah,
and
it just goes to show that there's no right answer.
No,
there's no steadfast approach.
Yep.
People can approach things differently, and as long as you're getting the outcome from your approach, plus 25% if they're starting $4, well, you're coming out a winner, aren't you? So as long as you get it right, you and I can be right 40% of the time with 2 different approaches, and we're laughing, we're rolling in it.
Yep.
So,
correct. Yeah. Love it. There's no method. Everyone brings different ideas and mentalities and betting strategies. I love it.